how do we take what we have here and then turn this into a speaking career, turn this into a spokesperson career, turn this into brand partnerships.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Business Briefs, where we talk about legal and business bite-sized strategies and tips. Today, I have the amazing and a very, very intelligent PR guru with us, Lauren Cobello. I mean, her work speaks for herself. You go to her website, you see all the amazing things that she has accomplished, from Today News and getting her clients to all different types of publications and platforms. So I'm really excited to have her with us today to talk to us about all things PR, the pitfalls, how to do it. You know, we're going to start with all of that. But before we do, Lauren, introduce us to yourself. Who are you and why did you start this?
Yeah. So actually, I've been, an online entrepreneur for 18 years now, which seems like such a long time. And before getting into PR, I was actually an online TV personality. So I've been a regular on the Today Show, Good Morning America, Dr. Oz, Rachel Ray, every national TV show you can think of. I've been on air myself for over a decade. And yeah, so I started and founded 2 online companies that I built, both over $2 million, sold them, and then wanted to really help other people do what I did. I'm a 3-time author. And so I come to PR from the expertise of being, in the online entrepreneur space, in the space of being on TV myself, hiring PR firms in the back, many, many times in the past, and kind of seeing some holes. And so, some issues that I saw in the PR world that I really wanted to kind of come in and start a new agency, if you would say, kind of like a new refreshing take on PR to really help experts, influencers, online creators to get the PR that they deserve in like a different way. Because I think PR has changed a lot over the past couple of years. And so, I've sat on both sides of the desk now. So that's why I started my agency, because I had hired many PR firms and came away with some really happy and some I really didn't get any success from. So I'm like, how do I do this different? And so that's why we started Leverage PR.
Wow. I mean, you come with so many accolades. And so this is such a treat to have you with us today.
Thank you.
But more than that, though, I think I want to know a little bit more about what it used to be like and what it is today. Because, sometimes we might be reading books of what it used to be like. And so what did your business do to be a disruptor or a game changer in what used to be and now how it is?
Yeah. So basically what we're seeing now as a big change in the landscape is a lot of pay to play opportunities, right? There's a lot of agencies out there that will pitch the pay to play opportunity of come on in, you're guaranteed PR. And then what they do is they take the money and go and pay for you to be on all these lifestyle shows. We're also seeing that some of the bigger shows like the Today Show, GMA, a lot of their segments are actually sponsored now by Amazon, magazines, People, all of those types of things. And so there's a lot less coverage to be had in especially the broadcast media space, because a lot of these companies are coming in and paying for like the Amazon shop segments and things like that. So there's a lot less what we call earned media available, as a lot of stations are turning into more pay to play advertising. But it's just knowing the landscape and like, how do you get around that? How, as an influencer and as an expert, do you not only just take the PR tips, but how do you then use this to leverage your brand to the next level? And I think that's really where our agency really sticks out. Is we're a boutique agency. So I really work hand in hand coaching our clients, not only like, okay, we're going to get you amazing PR and on national TV, but then I'm going to coach you on like, how do we take what we have here and then turn this into a speaking career, turn this into a spokesperson career, turn this into brand partnerships, right? How do we leverage this, hence leverage PR, leverage the media exposure to then make more money for ourselves? So PR isn't the end all be all. It's like there's a next step after that, which is really kind of where we shine, coming from my perspective of being an online entrepreneur and doing that for my own brands in the past.
Mm-hmm. This is really insightful, actually, because we all, a lot of times traditionally we think, oh, PR is, merited. It's people come to you
Mm-hmm.
and you shouldn't be paying for stuff. And maybe I'm incorrect, but maybe there might be an overall negative connotation to paying to be somewhere. But before we even get to like the different types of PR opportunities that are available, what is PR and why is it important for our business?
Yeah. So PR, especially earned media, which earned media is free PR, right? And we'll get into that in a little bit more. But when you hire a publicist to then pitch you out to their contacts and get you on TV so that you don't have to pay the $12,000, $20,000 fee to get you on that segment, right? So PR is just a way to control and use other agencies. And when I say agencies, like television, newspapers, online, social media influencers, using books to get your brand message out there, to use that to leverage and become the brand expert in your field, right? So we use PR a lot to elevate, a client's portfolio so that they feel really comfortable and now they're elevated as the expert in their space. So PR and marketing are not the same. And I think a lot of people confuse that because they're like, oh, can you just pay for me to get on that? I'm like, well, you have like, that's marketing. Like you can hire a marketing firm to do that. PR is earned. We're pitching you out to contacts. We're creating stories, heartfelt stories about you so that people will have a warm feeling about you, your brand, and it really helps you elevate to the next level.
Oh, wow. So explain a little bit more, if you don't mind, PR, public relations. How is that different from marketing? Because I feel like I've also mistaken it and I put them all in
Mm-hmm.
the same bucket. So what is essentially a very distinctive differentiation between the two?
Yeah. So a lot of brands will come to us with marketing budgets, and PR is a line item in that marketing budget. So marketing can mean paid ads, it can mean, there's an influencer outreach campaign, and then there's PR. So PR means, earned media, which is you are taking their story, their book, their brand, the expert, and pitching them out to, Forbes, go wherever they want to be online in the online space
Mm-hmm.
about their brand, making them the brand expert, making them the expert in their field. And then we're looking at television. There's a big gap right now in what we're seeing as far as marketing versus TV. You could go and pay for TV segments all the time, all day long. But this is the problem that a lot of people don't realize is that if you want big earned national media attention and they go look at all of your previous media segments and they just see that you've paid your way through television, they're not going to book you on a national show. So you kind of pigeonhole yourself into like a paid media person and you really lose out on these amazing opportunities for more national, bigger segments. And so that's marketing. They're looking for earned media, which is we work hard to get people to trust you and to get people to listen to your story and be excited about your story. And that is something that's totally different from marketing. Marketing is guaranteed. PR is not.
Mm-hmm.
PR is a completely different ball game. Like I could take a check and write it to go on a TV show or to write it to a Forbes contributor to put me in. That's marketing. PR is you hire an agency, they send out thousands of pitches a month on your behalf. They secure, 5 things, maybe, sometimes one thing, sometimes 12 things on your behalf. And they work to get your story in that press, in that media. And it's really more highly regarded because people are paying attention to your story. You're not just paying for them to pay attention to your
Mm-hmm.
story.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And thank you for clarifying that because I think
Mm-hmm.
there is a confusion there and they get swapped a lot of times, like both of those
Yep.
terms. Now, what are some types of PR opportunities that are available, which are based on what you've earned rather than what you're paying?
Yeah. So there's so many opportunities that are earned media right now. Obviously, like your local television stations, pitching them is always a great way to get in front of the media, especially if you have a new product launching or a book coming out. Local media always loves to feature, local authors or things going on, we like to call like movers and shakers, things going on in the community that are doing really well. You can also, use something like Help a Reporter Out, which is fielding requests from journalists or using the hashtag journo requests on Twitter is also a great way to find journalists looking for sources. Also, I like to, when I'm going to an event, like if people that are listening here are going to like an entrepreneur event, contacting the organizers of the conference and asking them for a media list. Media actually register completely separate. So whenever I go to an event, I ask for the media list and then I reach out to those people and schedule meetings with them so that I can meet with them while I'm there. And these are all things that I did before I even hired a PR agent, when I was doing my own PR, before I decided to hop up and hire PR agencies, back when I was running my own online companies.
Yeah. Well, that's such a great tip to ask the conference of the media that's going to be showing up there. And they're give it to you. They easily share this information with you.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
Light bulb moment, right? Like, woo. Yeah. Yeah. So, because they media registers like as media. And so they make a whole different list. So if you're a client of ours and we're going to an event at the same event as you, we have a list of all the media that's there. And we're setting up all these media appointments for you on your behalf before you even get to that event. So we get tons of media coverage for our clients when we go to the same, like if a bunch of our clients are going to the same event, we'll send one of our publicists there, and her job is to just go and set up, desk side meetings all day.
Oh my gosh, that's just so amazing. And I'm like, I want to be there. You were just saying earlier, like these are some of the things that you started doing even before you hired a PR company. And so I have a two-faceted question. My first question is, what are some ways that we can DIY our own PR until we have enough money to actually hire a company? And then that goes into my second question. How do we even start the pitch? Like, where do we begin?
Yeah. So there's a couple things I want everybody to listen into. This is very, very careful because I turn down a lot of people from our agency because these things are not in place. If you want to even start doing your own PR, your brand needs to be solid, right? You need to have a website. You need to have social media. You need to have a vision. You need to know who your target audience is. You need to have your brand solid. I meet with authors all day, every day in like discovery calls, people wanting to work with our agency. And that's the number one thing that I see is that people are not ready for PR. They want PR, but they haven't put the hard work in building the brand before they get to the PR stage. So before people start thinking about PR, work on your brand building, work on getting your website solid, getting an email sales funnel set up, making sure that you can capture leads when you do get PR and press hits, and making sure that you have, decent social media numbers. When I say decent, even something over 1,000 is going to show that you've been working on it. We don't want to see like that you have, 5 followers on Instagram and you have an unprivate account. It's like, did they just start? Or like, what's going on here? To a TV producer or to a Forbes columnist, they're going to question. So number one, get your stuff together. Okay. Just get it together before you do PR, because it's like you're jumping the gun from PR being successful if you don't have those things in place. So once you're done with that and you're like, okay, I want some PR, I want some local media. Do not think that you can get to the Today Show in a month because you think you are ready. Okay. It took me personally 7 years of doing local and regional television before I ever did my first Today Show segment. And then I got a regular spot on the Today Show, but it took me 2 years of doing the show to even get a regular spot. And then I was a regular on the show for 4 years. So realistic expectations of understanding what PR is super key. But then also, like when you're doing your own PR, realizing that doing research on like how to pitch properly, how to serve, like this isn't all about you. That's like the biggest pitch problem that I have, because I actually am one of the backup co-hosts of one of the daytime talk show that we have here locally in New York. And so we get pitched and I have to host. And the biggest problem that we see with pitches is like, hey, I have a book. I want to come on and talk about it. It's like, well, what's in it for me? Right? What's in it for my viewers? So you have to learn how to pitch properly. Also, to DIY it, also know that you really need to kind of strategize where the best places are for you to go. Where are your target readers? Where's your target clientele? what's the strategy? Because a solid strategy is going to get you a lot farther than just throwing like spaghetti up against a wall and just hoping for it to stick, right? So you need a strategy. So we oftentimes get people who have had, their own PR, like, because we work in the entrepreneur space a lot, they've been featured on like CNBC Make It, or they've been featured in Entrepreneur Magazine. They've spoken at some of the top entrepreneur conferences, and they're looking for the next level, right? So that's where we come in, because we have the connections. We book people on these shows all the time. They open our emails. That's when you have to start kind of recognizing that like you need some help, because your emails aren't getting open because they don't know who the heck you are.
Yeah,
right?
true.
They know us, they trust us, so they already have that information and that trust, so that we don't need to kind of go through and do that process of the trust building. That's really what you're getting when you hire an agency. You want to find one that specializes in your niche, that works and has successful proven results, and do your research.
Yeah, gosh, it's so key because what you just said, they open your emails. Like that's so,
Mm-hmm.
it's like that Field of Dreams comment, if you build it, they'll come. I'm like, that's not true. You can build a
Yeah,
website and nobody will come through your website unless you tell them about it. So,
it's so true. And like, I have cell phone numbers of like the producers that we work with, and I can literally just text them like, hey, we got a new client. That's the benefit of hiring an agency. But I'll tell you, not all agencies are the same.
right.
And that's what I've come across in working on this side of the desk
Mm-hmm.
now, is like, I'm like, oh, so you just take their money and then you give them two things a month, and you don't tell them you're only getting them two things a month, and then you just stop working on their account. Like there's this thing in like over servicing accounts in PR that I didn't realize was happening behind the scenes until I started working in it. And that's very common in PR agencies. And we don't do that. We'll over service you till the sun comes home, because
Right.
we're a results based agency, and we'll get you 20 things a month if we can.
And you would assume that to be the case. Like, and so this is,
Exactly.
so, and this is like, it kind of takes me to another question. But before we get to that question, is what makes a good pitch? What comprises of a solid pitch?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a solid pitch is using maybe statistics of kind of what's going on. So let's say, for example, we have a doctor, okay, and his specialty is in depression, and we're coming up on Mental Health Awareness Month. Let's say we can come up with a pitch that we are pitching about, 75% of entrepreneurs suffer with depression, and this is why. This doctor has experience treating entrepreneurs. This psychiatrist has success treating entrepreneurs. These are some of the things that he has done successfully, and listing out those things. And then these are some things that he can talk about, keeping it short, sweet, topical, what's going on in the world right now, but also knowing who you're pitching to. If you're looking at like, producers, if you found a producer for, let's say, a show, what are they into? Are you looking at their bio on the news page? Are you finding their interests? Do you see that they're into yoga? Do you see that they, sit on the suicide prevention awareness board? How can you work that into a pitch?
Mm-hmm.
How can you work that into the pitch? Like, hey, I saw that you really value mental health because you sit on the suicide prevention board. I see that, I have this great doctor. He focuses on mental health and entrepreneurs. This is what's going on. Really target it to that one specific person. And that's how you're going to get your open rates to be a little bit higher.
I think that's such a key tip that you've given right now, because whether it is a pitch for a PR opportunity or whether it's a pitch to get a job even somewhere, you have to relate to the person reading it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times we miss that, or people miss that, because they're just like, oh, we're just going to give generic emails. Like, I don't know, sometimes the inbox gets spammed, or the DMs are getting spammed by these generic things. They don't even know about you. They're talking about all this random stuff because they just probably do like a quick search or glance. And it's like, if you don't make it relatable, or where you show that you've done some research, they'll glaze over. They're like, okay, next. What catches the eye is when you speak to them.
Mm-hmm.
and
It's
what
so true.
interests them. And you're like, oh, wow, they've done research on me. This is crazy. I love this.
Yep, it's so true. And I think that we, in a busy world and a busy industry, and a lot of people pitching these shows every single day, how do you make yourself stand out?
Mhm.
And when you don't look like a robot and like you're an actual human being,
Yeah.
like people pay more attention.
Absolutely. Like even when I send out my guest requests for business briefs, like I want to do the research. I want my team to do the research. And I read through if I haven't created the pitch myself, I read through every single pitch to make sure there is connectivity there. If not, I'm like, we got to go back. We got to make this better. This is stale. I don't like it. I wouldn't want
Mm-hmm.
to read it myself.
Yep, it's so true.
And it's a big thing for me. It's actually like one of my pet peeves. Like, don't send out stale requests for anything.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. It's so true. And it really makes you stand out, I think, from the rest.
Yeah, it does. Like, and truly, it's whether you're sitting in an interview or anything, like that connectivity and making yourself relevant to them is key. And I think that truly, like you've said, really makes your pitch stand out too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure.
So, I have several clients who have management companies that are helping them. Is there a difference in the different types of management companies out there, like PR versus something else? Like, I feel like there's a lot of
Yeah.
different words and there's a lot of nuances that they're protecting themselves from so that they don't become like a management versus just somebody who's getting you gigs. I don't know. There's like different nuances there.
Yeah, so definitely. And I've worked in that space, more than I've worked in the PR space. So for sure there's management companies, right? So I have worked as a manager for some of our clients because that you get inundated with all of these requests of like, we want to work with you. And what's funny is I even get PR firms emailing me at my PR agency email asking for me to hire them for their PR. And I'm like, did you not know that I'm a PR agency? So like they're like, we can manage you as a, because they've seen me on TV or whatever. And I'm like, so do your research. But
Yes.
so there's management companies who are managing all of the inquiries that are coming in, right? They're managing the people's brands. They're managing their influencer calendars. They're coordinating PR efforts. They're helping with brand deals, all of that kind of a thing. And then there's agents who are taking a cut of the price, right? Where they're taking 10, 15, 20% of all of the brand deals that they're securing on behalf of the client.
Mhm.
I had somebody like this, for years when I was, because I've been a professional spokesperson for years too. So I've worked for some like really big names, like Aldi grocery stores in the past as like a spokesperson, and to have somebody there that's managing and negotiating on your behalf, but then they take that cut. So when it comes to PR, we work on a retainer basis month per month, and we don't take any cut of anything. Like, if we were to come across a brand deal or something like that, I would work an agent on behalf of somebody if they wanted to. But basically you have those kind of three layers. Is you have like the agent where they're taking the percentage, you have PR company who's working on a retainer basis, and then you have a management company who's like managing the whole brand as a whole and kind of managing all the little pieces underneath.
Yeah, and it can be so confusing. And
Yeah.
the roles almost seem like sometimes they're mixing, but they're not. And then,
Yep.
especially with management slash agent, there is a
Mm-hmm.
distinction that is made because the laws are different also governing what a management company can do versus what an agent can do, especially like
Right.
in California and New York.
Yep. It is. You have to be very careful about the laws associated with that, and then the protection over your client. And even for, our contracts, like we have specific different contracts for like white labeling. If we were to white label underneath a different agency or something like that, we have different contracts. If we were a white labeled agency under a larger agency, if we do, agent work, or if we're just a strict PR agent for one-on-one with the client, we have different contracts for each of those.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Thank you for explaining that because I think a lot of times if you are somebody who's looking to get into the space, hiring an agent or a management company or a PR agency, I've noticed that the person that is moving forward as a client, they're confused. They actually don't
Mm-hmm.
understand what's happening.
Yep.
And it's really important to know the distinctions. It's also important to know what the normal cut is because sometimes you don't know that also. It's confusing.
Yeah.
Like, is it 10? Is it 20? Like, that seems like a lot, but then maybe it's just industry standard. And so, speaking of the contracts, what are some things that are kind of like industry standards? Almost,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say non-negotiables because everything can be negotiated, but generally they're just not the negotiated parts of the contract.
Yeah. So we don't negotiate that we share our contacts with anybody. So we do not share our contacts or our pitches with our clients. Those are proprietary information and we don't share those because that's, each of the publicists in my industry have 20 years of experience, have celebrity clients, have celebrity relationships, and they've worked 20 years for those. So we don't just hand those out. And I think that it's unrealistic to expect a client for them to hire us for 6 months and then for us to give them everything that we know, right? Those are proprietary information. We also do not guarantee any coverage. So unless you pay for it. So some clients want a guarantee and they give us budget for 2 paid segments a month. Let's say they want television and they want to make sure that they get 2 paid segments a month. We'll say, okay, we'll give us a budget of, let's say, $2,500 a month, and we'll get you 2 lifestyle segments that are only paid that we cannot get you on unless you have, because they're only paid shows. Then we'll get a budget for that. But other than that, PR is never guaranteed because I cannot guarantee that you're going to open an email, read it, like it, book it. Like I can't guarantee your results.
Right.
I can only guarantee the work that we are doing. But I do say that, our internal KPIs are 4 media placements a month. That's either in, online, like a large podcast or a television opportunity. And we hit those with our clients every single month. So I can say from our track record, this is what we do. However, I'm not going to guarantee that in a contract and then have you sue me because I can't guarantee that. I just can't unless you want to pay for it.
Yeah.
Which you might as well just go pay for it yourself when you can. But your segments aren't going to be great because you want your segments to look good and feel good. And I can tell if somebody's just booked themselves on a show, I'm like, they have no idea what they're doing. And it just looks crappy. So, you want your segments to look good and to work with a media coach like me, which I do with all of our clients to make their segments look really good.
Mm-hmm. And word of advice, never is really a bad idea to guarantee anything in a contract unless you are 150% sure it's happening. And even then you're like, there could be a slight miss between the lip and the cup at that point.
Exactly. Exactly. But we've had clients try to say, no, I want all of my pitches and all of the contacts that you've pitched. And we're like, nope, like we won't work with you. Sorry. That's 100 years of experience that we are giving you access to. And, we won't give you a list of everybody that we've pitched. It's just not going to happen.
I like that you've put that experience as your perspective and reasoning also, because it's true. And it makes sense also at the end of the day. So it's all really good. Now, what's a good balance between paid advertising coverage versus earned media? Like what's a good balance? Say you want to do both because you need to, or you want to. How do you figure out what's the best way to do it so you're not losing other opportunities in the future?
Yeah. So in my honest opinion, I don't think that anybody needs to do paid media. I think there's plenty of earned media out there. I think the paid media comes from maybe fear that we're not going to be able to get them what they want. I would say that if you want to do paid media, it needs to be 10% of what you're doing, no more, because you get yourself in a pigeonhole of that. This is what PR is like. And we get that a lot. We get a lot of people coming from paid media outlets that don't understand that we can't just guarantee and like get them on things, right? So for example, a show that we work with very frequently, a very well-known show in New York City, if you were to pay for a segment on this certain show, it's $38,000. Okay. If we pitch you on this show and get you secured, which we do for probably 75% of our clients, you pay us our monthly retainer, which goes anywhere from $5,000 to $7,500, right? So the win-win is like, think about it calculated that way, that the amount, and then that's not the only thing we get you that month. We get you, other top tier media hits as well, and tell the story of your brand so that you can use those things for breaking them up into TikToks, breaking them up into media reels. We create a media sizzle reel for you so that you can use that on social media for speaker engagements, speaker pitches, and it really helps leverage that brand to the next level.
Yeah. That's a great advice and also very eye-opening because I don't think, at least for me and myself, I didn't realize that that kind of pigeonholes you and it may, take away those other opportunities that are available that are really merit-based and, you've earned
Yep.
genuinely.
A lot of people don't realize that. And it's a very real thing that, when we're pitching to national TV, they're saying, where have they been before? And if they see all paid, it's like, no, like they haven't earned any of this. Like
Mm-hmm.
they've just paid, it's advertising. They want to see who is resonating naturally with your topic and
Mm-hmm.
who's resonating naturally with your story,
Yeah.
not what you've paid for.
And that's so interesting you say that because earlier you were saying how so much media has become sponsored spaces. And
Mm-hmm.
so I know with the advancement of social media and literally being like the forefront of a lot of marketing and the beginning steps to marketing for your businesses, if not the only area that you're marketing in, how does that play into it? Because I know, like there's a lot of Amazon influencers out there and stuff. So when Amazon is sponsoring something or when someone else is sponsoring something, how does it work? I'm just,
Mm-hmm.
like, how does it all reconcile with each other?
Yeah, so this is actually a kind of really exciting topic for me to talk about. And I know we don't have a ton of time. It could be like another
A
whole
whole
episode, I feel
episode.
like. But so a lot of what people are doing right now, and I actually help some of our clients do this, is let's say I'm a TV personality, and I've done this in the past, and my expertise is in fashion. So I'm going to buy a TV segment on a lifestyle show, and then I'm going to sell sponsorship to 4 different brands externally. And then I'm going to bring those segments on the show and I'm going to make money. So let's say the segment is $1,000. I'm going to reach out to 4 brands and I'm going to have, you know, sell them for $2,000. They can get on this segment with me. And then I'm going to create a segment based on these 4 products.
Mhm.
Now, it's kind of illegal because if you think about it, like the
I'm like, is this
FTC,
okay? Yeah.
yes, the FTC has to approve and show that these are sponsored segments,
Yeah.
right? So this is a no-go in national television. Every time I was on the Rachel Ray show, I had to sign a form that none of the companies that I was talking about were sponsored. And I was
Yeah.
100% loyal to Rachel Ray. Every time I'm on the Today Show, Dr. Oz, Good Morning America, I'm signing a waiver saying I am not a spokesperson. I'm not getting paid by any of these brands because they can get in trouble with the FTC,
Right.
right? So this is kind of a sketchy thing that's happening with TV right now is a lot of people are making money and profiting off of these daytime TV segments and not disclosing that they're actually, having these products because the disclosure is that I'm sponsoring the segment, right?
Right.
Not that these brands are. So that's how they're kind of getting around it legally that like
Mhm.
I'm the sponsor of the segment, right? But these 4 people are paying me and I'm sponsoring on their behalf.
Right.
And so that's where we could get into like satellite media tours and all of that kind of thing, which is another whole income generator that I'm very familiar with and I've done over the years. But that's kind of the theme that we're seeing a lot with a lot of these paid shows is that's how they're making their money is by having people come on that don't have PR agencies that don't know the difference that are clueless that are like, oh, I've got to pay to go on this where they could hire me and I could get them on for a third of the price,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
don't know.
Oh my gosh. Like while you were
It's like,
saying that to me, yeah, totally.
yeah.
I'm like, wow, wow, wow. But then I'm like, red flag, red flag, red flag.
Mm-hmm. As a lawyer, I'm sure you're like, wait a
Oh my gosh,
second.
like
Like, yeah.
my mind was bursting as an entrepreneur, like, wow, that's savvy. And then
Yeah.
on the other spectrum, I'm like, but that's so illegal. I'm sure there has to be clauses that say you can't do that. It's almost like in my brain, it's like almost like subletting a tenant subletting a space that they're not allowed to sublet in their home. And that's
It's like,
literally how I'm equating this to. Like, it's just unless
yeah.
you're specifically expressly allowed to do it, and then you give the express disclosures also because you have to. Even if you look at the law itself, like even for media influencers, whether or not you're sponsoring something, you personally, you have to show whatever sponsored to you.
Mm-hmm.
And because everything you're saying is biased at the end of the day.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it's like a little domino effect, but you have to follow the law in each conjunction. It has to be followed.
Yeah.
That is so
It's like renting an Airbnb out and then subletting the Airbnb without telling the Airbnb owner.
like,
you
what
know,
is this? Oh my goodness.
it's very common, and I've worked with clients to do it in a legal fashion, doing like
Yeah.
satellite media tour work, which is a little bit different because there are, you know, clients, we say this has been sponsored by blah blah blah, and then I'm the talent of it, right? So there's differences there, but so a lot of these lifestyle shows, I don't know if they realize, I feel like I'm kind of like a disruptor in the PR agency world because I'm like, I know that this is what's going on. And like, here's the PR world. And I'm like, we're not going to like use the word over service with our clients. Like, we're just going to knock it out of the park with all of our clients, like get them as much as possible. And
Yeah.
that's hard to find publicists that will do that because they're so trained and like, no, we're not going to over service this account. I'm only going to give them two things and then move on to the next person. But the client doesn't know that that's happening. Like they
Yeah.
think, oh, I've gotten two things, but they don't realize that they've passed on like eight other huge opportunities just because they don't want to over service their account. And
And what about
so I'm,
conflict of interest? What if you're like have multiple people that do the same thing? How I'm always like I always question the conflict of interest there. And I know that
yeah.
a lot of times you can't do the exclusivity situation, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
always wondering what makes them come to you and not to the other person.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's, for example, we have like three financial people in our agency, but each of them have a different specialty.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're looking. Like they each have their own zone of genius.
Right.
So even though they're all like CFPs, like this one focuses on retirement, this one focuses on investing, and this one focuses on like faith and family. So
Mm-hmm.
pitching is very distinctive between the three of them. And then we can pitch them out as a collab segment to like a national show of like, here we have three financial people.
Right.
And so there's a lot of different ways to have them all work together for a common goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. Lauren, this has been amazing. I have
Yeah.
personally learned so much. I know listeners have learned a ton. This is definitely something to go back to and revisit and rehear like over and over again. This has been really helpful. I really appreciate
Awesome.
your time and being with us today. But before we go, a couple questions that are kind of fun, kind of more insightful into you. But
Okay.
what are some books you're reading today or podcasts that you're listening to today?
Yeah. So I actually am reading, this is one of my clients' books, just, as a forewarning, but I'm rereading this book right now. It's called For the Culture
Okay.
by Marcus Collins. And it's about the power behind what we buy, what we do, and who we want to be. And it's all about culture and marketing and how culture affects like the buying decisions
Yes.
in our world. And so it's really been helping me with just figuring out like how to, sell different ways to different cultures and how it's affecting people's buying decisions. So
Mhm.
loving that. What was the other question? Oh, podcasts. So in full disclosure, I love your podcast. That's actually how I found you. It was by
Thank
listening to your
you.
podcast. I always listen to EO Fire. I love John Lee Dumas. Smart Passive Income is always a big one of mine. I'm friends with Pat Flynn as well. So those are some go-tos. And then I also listen to my friend Jen Burson, which she's a PR goddess. She's a PR genius. So I'm listening to her Generation PR podcast as well.
Oh my gosh, love them. And we'll be putting the links to everything in this anyways. And my final question to you is what is your anchor? What holds you steady when it's crazy around you?
Yeah. So I'm a single mom of four. And so my son just graduated high school. And I remember when I was going through my divorce, I was in a really dark time. And I have three daughters. They're 14, 12, and 10. And I'm just reminded that they're watching me and they are watching my successes and my failures. And, in as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, I feel like life is always up and down. There's always so many highs and lows. So I'm always anchored to the fact that they're watching me. And if they can watch me navigate through entrepreneurship, business ownership with grace and dignity and be a great mom and anchor to their life, then I've done it the right way. And
Hmm.
so I just hold fast to them. I hold fast to that I want to be a good role model to them of how to succeed and how to do things with integrity and how to never give up.
I love that. And I feel like you're definitely accomplishing those goals.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me.
Lauren, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure talking to you, getting to know you a little bit more, and just learning from you. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you. I enjoyed being here. Thank you.